Hey everybody, welcome to another capture design tutorial. My name is Rodney. As always, I'm excited to be doing this. And today we're going to be looking at an exciting and interesting part of graphic design, which is working with images. Now, when you're working with images, I think for the sake of what we're doing, we're going to be focusing on two specific formats. That is your JPEG images and, oh wow, okay, I didn't know the camera does that. So we're going to be working with JPEG images, number one. Let me just make it full screen so as you can see me. So we're going to be working with number one, JPEG images, and number two, we're going to be working with PNG images. And these are just image formats that are applicable to different contexts. Now, just so that you understand what we're talking about here, I'm working on a website, which is this one right here for a Zambian e-commerce platform called Buymart. And as you can see, there are lots of gaps in here where we need to place some images of their products. Now, I've added a few here, but as you can see, you can't really see the full image of the bed. It's kind of clipped. So that has a lot to do with the size of the image. And if you actually go into Wix, which is the system that we're using to develop this website, it has a space for you to upload images. So whenever you're going to upload an image, you have to replace the image and it has to sort of like fit into the dimensions of this square here, and then you can of course modify it. By the way, if you want to learn how to make websites using Wix, powerful e-commerce websites that are just like this, just let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to work on a tutorial for that in the future. All right, now we have a problem whereby the client has sent us some images. Let me just go into the folder here from the client, and the images that they've sent to us, some of them, as you can see, they are clear. When you move them around, you can see how the background sort of changes and adapts to the size of the image. And then for some of them, they have this white background here. Now, the problem with working with images that typically come from clients is that they're often not the correct size, and they often sometimes might have funny backgrounds or things written on them that you don't need. And in our case here, our client expects our images to be on this green background. Now, it will be easy for me to take maybe, let's say, one of the images. Where did the images go? It'll be easy for me to take one of the images, say, without the background here and place it there. But if I take an image with a background like this one, you'll start to see the problem very quickly. So this is what you call a JPEG image. Typically, a JPEG image is going to have a background on it, and a PNG image is not going to have a background on it. So in the case that a client gives you a picture, say like this one, and you try to upload it directly onto the website, you're going to have issues with sizing. For example, like this here. You see how you don't quite see the full bed, you only see a piece of it? It's because the size does not have an allowance on the sides for you to have it, fully filled up in the space where you can put the image while, not cutting it. So in our case, for example, let's imagine it this way. Let's say this is the image that came from our client and this is where we need to put our picture, right? And we have this image and we have this image. Now, if we were to just take the image and just place it directly, we see how the size is not right. It's not going to fit and some of the pieces are going to be cropped off. And that is obviously a bad image to use on a website because then your clients are not going to be able to see the full image of what your client is trying to sell, which is exactly the issue we're dealing with here. And then there are images like this, whereby if you put them on there, you see now how they're blocking out the background, you can't see the logo, and they're completely changing the color from the background. So these are obviously issues that we need to fix. And to fix these issues, it's a matter of two things. Number one, it's sizing. And number two, it is background management, or in a technical term, it's called deep etching. Now, there are a lot of AI tools and automated tools that can do this, but today we're going to look at how to do this process manually, just so to understand what the computers are doing and what the AI is doing when it's doing this automatically. That way, even if you are using an AI to work on this kind of stuff, you will be sort of like in control of how it works. Now, in the case that you receive a PNG image like this and you place it on your design, it's just a simple matter of resizing it and making sure that it fits correctly onto the artboard size that you have, and just making sure that maybe your logo is also a great size so that nothing is affected and your client's image can be seen in full. And a great advantage of working with PNG images like this is you can even add other elements behind the image like this, and it will still look fantastic. It will not affect the image that's on the front, and it kind of gives it, that kind of professional feel that you're looking for. That means now you can even add things like your price, like to say, I don't know how much this is, but let's just say it's 3,000 kwacha, you know. When you work with PNG images like this, you're able to do very quick and easy changes to your images, and you're able to manipulate them and make them look great as much as you want. Now, when you're working with JPEG images, like the one that I'm looking at there with the white background, you're going to have a couple of problems. Now, let's say, for example, we take our background like this. Just give me a second. And we take our logo and we take our colors and we put them over there. With this image, it's just like that. But when you take this, as you can see, it's completely going to block out everything. So we want to make sure that all the white elements around this image are gone, and we're only left with the image just by itself, and it has to look great so that we can do what we're doing with this image over here. Now, the way to do this, right, is actually a process called deep etching. And I'm going to show you the old way of doing it, which is, pretty slow and cumbersome. And then I'm going to explain how, you can do this automatically with newer tools. And then we're going to look at how you can do this, in a second using a tool like, say, Canva. So let's really try and walk through this process of deep etching. Now, back in the day, when designers were working on things like newspapers or posters, they would do a process called typesetting, where they would get, say, a picture that has been taken by a photographer and it has been printed, and you want to put it onto your design. And these guys would actually use a pair of scissors, like we used to do when we were covering our exercise books in primary school, to just trace around the image carefully until you only have the image that you need. Now, obviously, software can do exactly the same thing, and we're about to see a process of doing that. Now, in Affinity Designer, by the way, I love Affinity Designer. You can check out my previous lessons where I talk about Affinity Designer. Convert your background to curves, and then you're now able to add different points onto it. And these points will allow you to move, just sections of the background to points where you need them to be. And do you see how the background is just disappearing just like that? This process we're going through right now is called deep etching. And this is the most manual way for you to clean up an image. As you can see, it takes time. You have to be very precise. You have to be meticulous because sometimes your images, as you can see, they're pixelating. They've got rough edges. And, images don't always come great from clients. You kind of have to work with what you get. But, oftentimes, back in the day, I remember when we used to work in CorelDRAW, this was pretty much the only way to remove a background from a picture, and would get paid quite a lot of money to do this. Now, this process, as you can see, though it works, it doesn't quite give you a clean output in the sense that some of your edges are not going to be properly refined. It's very slow and cumbersome. But if you're new to design and you don't know what you're doing, and you're given, a tight deadline and you've got to get this done, this process could literally save your life, right? Which is just deep etching, and we get the curve, we do that, and just like that, we have ourselves a fully deep etched image, right, with no background, and it'll sort of work, but this is not how you would do this professionally in a design app. Let me just make sure it's all done so that you see that this is possible to do, guys. I don't recommend this. This is, this is how we used to do it back in the day. This is before Photoshop. This is before Affinity Photo. Yeah, before the tech came in and started solving these problems. And bada boom, we have a pretty passable image with no background that operates as a PNG file, and, it kind of works. But as you can see, that process was slow, it was cumbersome, and it took quite a lot out of us. But is there a faster way to do this? Now let's go and take the same image, which is this one, and we're going to open this one with a different app from Affinity called Affinity Photo. As you can see, it's popping up right now. Now, Affinity Photo is a system that is optimized for working with images. It has so many advanced tools that make image editing a breeze, and it really is the best way for you to be dealing with images if you're going to be the designer. Now, today we're going to be using this tool, which is called the Selection Brush tool, which just literally does the whole selection for you in seconds, just like that, right? And we've got a clean selection. And then you click here on top. While you've got your tool selected, you go on to refine, and you just reduce the border width. I like to keep it at 1%. I like to add a bit of smoothness, 0.1, which means like the edges are going to be a lot more on the straight side. And then I like to add a feather. A feather simply refers to like softness. Now, how does a feather work? If you see the design that we did here in Affinity, you see how the edges are sharp and, it kind of looks wonky. But when you add a feather, it sort of softens the edges. You see that? So that you don't have any hard lines and your deep etched image is so much cleaner. Then you want to output this to a mask. Mask simply means it takes everything that is on the sides out and it only leaves the image, and bada boom, Just like that, we have ourselves a deep-etched image. Then you like to rasterize it. Rasterizing just means turning it from a graphic object into a picture object. And then now, take exactly that same image and repaste it here and do a side-by-side comparison. And look at that. You can literally see right away that the edges are sharper, the detail is better, and it's a lot smoother. Of course, we do have images in the sense we do have issues in the sense that the image is not exactly high resolution. But if you are deep etching images and you use Affinity in this way, Affinity Photo that is, you're gonna turn out with very clean images every single time. Now, this procedure is also great when you're working with an image of, say, a human being with hair. And I would like to actually demonstrate this in action, such kind of see how a tool like this can really change the game when it comes to how you're working with your images. Let's just go into Google search and do the cardinal sin of just downloading an image of, let's say, African dreadlocks, I guess, dreadlocks model, right? You're going to find an image of a person with hair because hair is often very difficult to get precisely right. Okay. Let's find a high resolution image like this one. Now, what do I mean when I say find a high resolution image? You see on this image here, if you look at the corner here, down here, you see how it says 2000 by 3000. Now, when you're choosing images, always try to choose images that have at least 1000 on one of the sides. Otherwise, they're going to pixelate. You see how this one here says 736 by 919? That means it's a low quality image. This one here that says 960 by 1448, it's a higher quality image. You will see the difference in these images when you start zooming in. You see how images like this, they're kind of hazy when you zoom in. They're not really sharp. But if we take an image like the one that we found here, when you zoom in, it remains crisp and sharp. This has everything to do with image resolution. And if you're going to work with high resolution images, you're always going to have a better design. Now, this is a complex image with a dark background. And as you can see, it might be quite difficult for us to get all those details in. Imagine trying to deep etch this manually using the process I initially showed you. It's going to take you forever. But if you do go into an app like Affinity Photo and you just say File, New from Clipboard, that means you just paste the image that you copied. And then you take your selection brush tool and then you just go over the image just like that. Now, because the image is a lot more complicated, you are going to need to put in a bit more work to get this right. But as you can see, the AI, well, I don't know if it's using an AI, but the selection tool itself is so smart that it can, more or less, get the edges correctly. Now, you will find that there are going to be sections in the image, like, say, these ones, where you might need to zoom in because the detail is smaller, and you just, make your brush a little bit smaller. You can make your brush smaller here. And then Option or Alt on Windows means you remove the selection and then whatever you click is sort of selected. So sometimes you need to zoom in just to make sure your selection is precise. And you will have issues as well when you choose images that have black on black or brown on brown or yellow on yellow, in the sense that the selection tool might get really confused to know what it is that you want. Like, say, for example, down here with the skirt, I know for a fact that this skirt is not going to come out correctly just because I've got black, and even I, with my own sharp eyes, can't tell where the image ends and where the skirt ends and where the background ends. So you must be careful when you select your images to make sure you select an image with a background that is sharp in contrast with your image. So if you're going to have an image with a lot of black like this, make sure that your background is lighter, like maybe say white or yellow or something, just so that your subject stands out more. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. However, I chose a difficult image here just so that we can demonstrate what this app can do. So you click on Refine, and already Affinity has done a great job of making this clean. Then you just go over, just dragging like this over the edges that you feel like are not clean, and you will see that Affinity will do a great job of refining it and just trying to calculate and see what needs to be in the image and what needs to be gone. This is very, very important for you to do to get high resolution, clean selections that are going to include all the details that you want, such as the hair, but then remove issues like the background. And just like that, we remove our border width, remember, to about 1%. I like it like that, at a bit of smoothness. 0.1 pixels is great. And then just a tiny bit of a feather. Then we output it to mask again, and we apply, and bada boom. And just like that, we've got ourselves a deep etched image. Now, you'll find that it has a lot of detail, but because of the background issues I was telling you, oh, it actually got the skirt pretty good, not bad. But because of the detail issues I was telling you, it ate a little bit into some of our hair because the background is too closely related with the image. Now, how do we solve this problem using a more sophisticated tool? Now, the easiest way that I found to do image deep etching or background removal is using my trusted co-pilot Canva. Canva, guys, is such a cheat code if you're a designer. It is literally the fastest way for you to get high quality graphics, no matter what the work is that you're doing. Even if I take our old item here, right click, and I don't even need to right click it. I just drag and drop it into Canva like that. Or you can right click and say open with Canva. All of it works. Now, let's put, of course, our background on it just so we can see what's happening here. We need a green background. Maybe let's just put a blue one for now, just so we can see what's happening. And even the same on this one, let's just put a blue one just so we can see what's happening. Bada boom. Now let's remove the background from this image. On Canva, it's literally just one click, and 2 seconds later, bam, you had yourself a very clean, deep-edged image with literally no artifacts. And all you gotta do now is share it and download it as a PNG. Right here, make sure it's high quality max. And, oh yeah, let's do the first image before we do the download. Also take this image, hit BG remover. And you know what, guys? This is why I always say that Canva is the perfect, look at that. It even did a better job than what I was doing with Affinity. And then we share this document. We want to download both of them as PNGs. We want a transparent background, very, very important. And then we download both of them. I hope we're having a good time, guys. And if you're learning something and if you're enjoying this this masterclass, make sure that you sign up. Let's just say deep etch, just so that you guys, some of you guys who don't know how to spell deep etch, that's how you spell deep etch, just like that. And let's just save this in my pictures for now. I don't care. And then we show in folder. We open it, and where am I? There we are. And bada boom, I've got myself a deep etched image and another deep etched image. And I paste them on there. And guys, you know what? Canva is such a cheat code. Even with Affinity, you're not going to get these kinds of results. Let's just take a comparison of what I did in Affinity for my hair model and what Canva did for us here. Just going to copy you, and we're going to paste you. By the way, this is a gorgeous model. You see that? Canva did a much, much better job than anything I could have done. And so my suggestion to you guys is, if you're going to be a designer and you want to be working with images, always consider a couple of things. Let's see. You can actually then incorporate this into your graphics. If you have a model or whatever, you can then incorporate this into your graphics, do a few tweaks, and you've got yourself a gorgeous ad just like that. Rasterizing, by the way, is important because it removes all the funny edges. Let's just get rid of that. And it leaves you with just a clear image. So always rasterize your images, especially when they're blown up. And just like that, we've got ourselves some deep etched images straight out of Canva. So let's just go over today's lesson one more time, right? We're talking about working with images, and you want to use images, say, for web products, and they're not the correct size, they're jittery, some of them have backgrounds, whatnot. By using a tool like Canva, it will automatically remove the background from your images through a process that was traditionally known as deep etching. Now, if you don't have Canva, you can, of course, do manual deep etching by just using any of your graphical software, say Affinity or Affinity Photo, Photoshop, CorelDRAW, whatever it is that you need to do. There are multiple ways to do it. But now with AI, you don't really have to do that. I think Adobe also has a free version, Adobe Background Remover. There's another good one called Pixel Cut, which you can find. But if you're going to ask me which app I would recommend, because I'm an Affinity guy, I always say, go with Canva. Canva owns Affinity, and their system is absolutely fantastic. And just like that, guys, you have for yourself high quality images that are deep etched and clear backgrounds. Now, just so that you know that I'm not lazy, I'm going to show you just how big my collection of these deep etched images are. So if I actually go into my products by mart catalog, is it by mart catalog? You see, guys, oh yeah, here we go, product images. I actually have a full document that I worked on doing exactly this process, you see, and there are lots of images. And just, as you can see, the client gave them to me in a format like this. Let me just show you so that you understand and see how it goes. When the client gave me these images, they gave them to me in just, a big folder. And I was like, yo, how am I going to work with this? Bimart, is it probably, I think it's in your covers, you see? Products. They just gave me a full folder with images that are like this. And you see the different sizes, they're random. It's not going to work. Some of them have backgrounds. It's not clean. I have so many issues to work with if I'm going to be using these images. So to make them all exactly the same size and to make sure that all of them have no background, I put them in and laid them out inside Affinity just like this. Made sure that all of them have backgrounds removed using Canva, and then just placing them on a square size, which is equal size. That means now when I'm importing them into my website, I can predict the size of the images and be able to give a much more consistent output. And as you can see, there's lots of work that's gone in here. You can't be lazy. And that's the one thing about being a designer, guys. You've got to take pride in your work. You should be willing to sit down and work like, meticulously to ensure that every single thing that comes out of your computer is high quality. The images are high resolution. There's no errors. The background is clean. You've got to make sure your deep etching is absolutely phenomenal. Like even on these funny images here, if you try to test my deep etching, just by looking at the quality of my outlines, you can see that there are no errors. And this is the level of excellence that you need to reach. And you can test this on absolutely any of these products that you want, and you'll always have exactly the same output from me. I don't mess around when it comes to doing work for my clients. My clients deserve the best. So you see, that means now if they ask me to make an ad, with a green background, I can just go in and just, change the background and make it whatever the color green might be. I'm just doing it randomly right now, and it's still going to look absolutely phenomenal. This is the trick to having images that look great, that you can manipulate, and that you can use for different applications. And I strongly recommend that you start mastering working with images. Remember, if you're going to export images, you can export them in either of two formats, and I can actually demonstrate this here. There's JPEG images, which are going to have white backgrounds. As you can see, I've exported white background images, and then there are PNG backgrounds that have clear PNG images that have clear backgrounds, as you can see here. So there's JPEG and there's PNG. It just depends on the application. If you're going to be using images like, let's say, maybe to post onto your status or your profile picture, you're not going to want an image without a background. It's going to be difficult for your clients to see. But if you're going to be working, like, let's say, maybe to post on your status or whatever, it's good to have JPEG images. And with JPEG images, you can actually put the color of the background or whatever, how you want it to be. Then PNG, which is portable network graphic, it allows you to use it on websites, in applications and designs, whatever, and just have clean backgrounds. And guys, I do this all the time for all my clients. And I think with that, we can come to the end of this lesson. If you have any questions, just remember to DM me, and let's go. Let's do wonderful work, and let's always be the best graphic designers we can be, and let's always aim to be number one. Remember, in 2025, you're going to be great or you're going to die. And see you in the next lesson, guys. Have a fantastic evening, and keep designing great.